Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. Tonight's NXT was the first round of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the start of it, and I gotta say, if this was any indication, if the two matches we got tonight in the tournament were any indication of how the rest of this tournament is going to pan out, I am super excited. What a fun episode of NXT this was. Partner, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. This was one of those cases where NXT... The crazy thing is, it's not like in Lucha Underground where pretty much every match could be just a pay-per-view match, if not a pay-per-view main event, and it's just amazing. But what NXT does that's so special, that sets it apart from everyone else, and that's WWE, Lucha Underground, ROH, everyone else, is that they have these little short matches that aren't necessarily, 5-star classic kind of clinics, but they tell a really good, simple story. They make both performers look good, and they are entertaining. And that's what it really comes down to. And there was, I think, 3 of those on this card alone, but they all served a purpose, and they all worked, and I enjoyed all of them.
Yeah, I would completely agree with your assessment. No contentions here.
And they also mix in legitimately good matches as well, like what our main event was tonight.
Oh, the main event. I can't wait to talk about that. Very excited for that. But no contentions of your assessment of tonight's episode. With that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. I can tell you right now, I didn't have a single complaint about this show tonight. Everything was good for me. This is a fun hour. Just kind of turn your brain off and really just be a fan. I love it. What about you, Ashton?
Completely agree. No Heats of the Night here.
All right, then let us roll right on through to our NXT review. And we open up with just a quick video package, once again highlighting that this is the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, honoring the dream. They show some teams, some established tag teams. And then we cut right to it. We have a cold open with a matchup here. The Ascension versus Rhyno and Baron Corbin in a first-round Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic matchup. I gotta say, Ashton, fun opener. It was great to see the Ascension back home in an environment where, they're actually respected.
Well, I mean, for now they are, until they start losing just as much as they do on the main roster, because they lost this match.
That's true. I mean, I'm just glad that they got time, and they were able to get on offense and get the crowd into them. The crowd very respectful to all of the returnees on tonight's episode of NXT. They showered the Ascension with a welcome back chants. Thought that was very cool. I enjoyed the work of Victor and Connor. Great guys. Love the team. Connor especially had a nice little hot tag when he had the momentum going for a little bit. Even did a little bit of dancing as he was nailing some right hands.
Because the crowd was getting into the "yah" chants.
Yeah. So it was really
no,
cool
John.
to see that.
"Yah."
Yeah. So that was really cool. But Rhyno and Corbin do get the win, though. So we're going to go with this whole, strange bedfellows, once enemies, now partners kind of angle. And I don't mind that. I really don't expect them to get far in the tournament. I could even see them getting knocked off in the second round if I'm being honest with you.
Honestly, dude, I think they'll make it to the semifinals.
You do?
I don't know exactly how the bracket plays out, but if I had to guess, I would say they're going to end up making it to the semifinals and then losing to Joe and Balor.
That makes sense to me. So I won't really argue that. They worked fine as a team. There really wasn't any contention shown between them, which I liked. And they seemed like they got along pretty well. So we'll see if that continues throughout the remainder of the tournament. But yeah, Rhyno pins Connor after the gore, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that it wasn't necessarily that the Ascension was the worst team here. It's just that it almost came off like they were rusty, like they were posing too long for the fall of man, and it allowed Corbin to pull Victor's leg out from under him, and then obviously Connor versus Rhyno one-on-one. It's perfectly understandable that Rhyno would win that.
Yeah, because Rhino's the experienced veteran.
Right.
And, to me, that's what I love about this. Yeah, the experienced veteran get the pin, so you can at least argue, well, they had credibility on their side in that matchup. And then as far as the Ascension as a unit is concerned, they got caught. You know, they made one mistake, and that was enough for a team comprised of a dominant guy like Corbin and a seasoned veteran like Rhyno. So to me, I don't think the Ascension's any worse for this. Rhyno and Corbin move on.
Absolutely. And that's yeah, I completely agree. And it's one of those things too where I don't know if this is just a one-time thing for the Ascension or if they're back on NXT now, like for a certain period of time because they couldn't really figure out their spot on the main roster. Actually, no, you know what? I take that back. I know what they're doing on the main roster because I read SmackDown spoilers, and you'll have to just wait and see.
All right, well, there you go.
The Ascension got an angle on SmackDown this week.
Well, at least it's better than nothing, which is what they've been doing up until this point. So it was great seeing them back in an NXT ring, though. A lot of fun.
Definitely. Up next, though, we had Neville and Solomon Crowe on an interview with Devin Taylor. Neville basically is all about being in this because he wants to honor Dusty. That's what it's all about for Neville. Crowe wants to honor Dusty too, but he's also really excited to be teaming with Neville because he's the greatest NXT champion of all time, and he wants to win the whole thing.
Yeah, and Crowe even said, you know, I'm calling it. We are going to win the whole thing, and he's just really pumped up.
He's calling his shot. He's pulling a Babe Ruth.
Yeah, and Neville just kind of looks at Devin afterwards, and he's like, you know, I want to win, but that was weird. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, so good stuff here. Simple yet effective promo. Not much to say. We know each guy's motivations, and they seem like they're going to be a cohesive unit. So there you go.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll see. Next, though, we had a Nia Jax vignette. This is typical WWE fashion. Of course, they tell us that something's coming, and then they don't tell us when.
I will say, though, I like the stylistic aspect of these vignettes. You know, just like kind of her voiceover and then the little shaky camera, whatever going on at the end of Nia Jax. Almost like this great terror is coming. So it makes me really excited for her debut.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's already intimidating based exclusively on just these vignettes and her voice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I just want to see her show up and literally just be Awesome Kong. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I'm the same way as you. I think it was just the last episode of NXT or the one before that where we really had like an in-depth discussion really on the whole division now that Bayley's champion and Nia Jax had a prominent place in our new kind of scheme for the women. So I won't belabor those points. But yeah, just a very interesting vignette. I hope we get a date soon because I want to see her in the ring. But I'm excited nonetheless.
Absolutely. And that's my thing too, is I just want to know when. Up next, though, we had our second match of the night, Alexa Bliss versus Blue Pants. Before the match even starts, just immediately Graves, spitting that fire tonight, calls Blue Pants the discount diva, which I love.
I love it, too. It's weird to me because, like, the match wasn't bad or anything. It wasn't offensive. Otherwise, it would have been in my first segment because, you know, we pull no punches with NXT. I was a bit confused, though, because, I mean, Alexa Bliss was demonstrating, like, great heel psychology by working over the arm. But that didn't really play into the finish, and I don't even really remember Blue Pants really selling the arm with all the work that was done to it. Maybe I missed something. So that was a bit disjointing, considering that Alexa Bliss ultimately won with the Sparkle Splash, which, I mean, makes sense because it is her finisher. I just would have liked maybe a better connected story in the ring.
Maybe Alexa Bliss knows something that we don't.
Maybe.
Maybe Blue Pants has a finisher that we don't know about that involves that arm.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see her get on a roll sometime, but
I'm pretty sure the only wins the Blue Pants has ever gotten have been via roll-up.
Yeah, over Carmella, no less. But we had an extended discussion as well on Blue Pants and her whole situation, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. But it's two great personalities because I love Alexa Bliss as a heel.
Alexa Bliss is... Here's my thing with Alexa Bliss. Has she gotten better in the ring? Maybe a little, yeah. Is she good in the ring? I don't know if I want to say yes to that yet. I mean, she's clearly competent to the point that she's not going to botch. She's not like Eva Marie, Dana Brooke levels of bad. Right. She's a notch above that, but she's not significantly much higher above that. You know what I mean?
Well, see, here's my thing, dude. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but here's why I think it's so great then that she turned heel because, you know, you and I went back and we listened to Johnny Mundo's interview on the Stone Cold podcast. And he said it was great for him to turn heel because it really changes your style. Because when Alexa Bliss is babyface, you've got to do that exciting offense. You've got to suck the crowd into your matches. And really, to me, I thought Alexa Bliss had a lot of gaping holes in her repertoire as a babyface. It was just like a lot of quick pins, a lot of things like that. Here as a heel, you could see she's very methodical, was working over the arm of Blue Pants. I liked her aggression and her nastiness. I feel like her having this change in alignment, because she doesn't have to be as flashy or exciting because she's not a babyface, is going to accentuate her positives and do better to conceal her negatives.
And that's honestly, dude, that's what I was actually getting ready. I was kind of using the in-ring stuff to set up for something else.
Right.
Because to me, even though she's not great in the ring by any means, and she's not Sasha Banks, she's not Becky Lynch, she might be sort of similar to Charlotte in terms of just in-ring technical acumen. I can see her as being on that kind of level. She's not Bayley. But what she has that nobody other than Sasha doesn't have, or everybody other than Sasha doesn't have, I should say,
right,
is an absolutely thorough understanding of her character. She is, next to Sasha Banks, probably the second best actor in the Divas division.
I would completely agree with that. Yeah. I'm telling you, I feel like they gave us Alexa Bliss as a babyface, and she was supposed to be, just this exciting, this scrapper, whatever, and I just felt a complete disconnect.
Yeah.
I feel connected to this character.
Yep.
Her matches will never be 5-star classics. I don't know if they'll ever be.
Well, I don't know if you should even say never. Her matches aren't currently 5-star classics, but you never know. With a couple years' time, she could get there.
Hell, a couple years' time, and honestly, I think it's also, of course, very contingent on the opponent. I think you put her in a ring with somebody like Bayley, who's so great at drawing sympathy and getting that babyface favor.
I think they could put on a match similar in quality to Charlotte Bayley from that NXT TakeOver show.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
I think that was Fatal 4-Way that it was, NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. So, there's definitely something there with Alexa Bliss. I by no means am trying to write her off. I think my thing is the same as your thing. I'm just so glad she's heel, because she just seems so much more comfortable in there, and she really seems like she's found herself since becoming heel. So she does get the win after the Sparkle Splash. I'll be honest, I was a bit surprised that no Blake and Murphy presence and no presence from the Vaudevillains, because I originally had it in my head when this match was announced, okay, maybe Blake and Murphy will try and get involved. Vaudevillains will neutralize them, and then Vaudevillains get the last laugh again with Blue Pants getting the win. But this is a very straightforward contest, so not really much more to say than that. Yeah,
I actually really, really liked that Alexa got the clean win here. Not because Blue Pants is a jobber or anything like that, because I think that, if WWE wanted, or if NXT, I guess I should say, wanted to give Blue Pants a push, obviously she's right for it just because of how over she is consistently. But Alexa needed this, because it's one of those things where Blue Pants got the better of her at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and that's what allowed the Vaudevillains to win the tag titles. So now it makes sense that Alexa would kind of get what Blue Pants got on her now in a singles match.
I'd say it's interesting to me because that Blake and Murphy are entitled to a rematch. And I'm just wondering, are they going to use Blue Pants to counteract Alexa Bliss again? Are we going to continue this? Or maybe Vaudevillains, maybe they'll find some kind of kayfabe reason to say, well, Blue Pants can't come to their aid this time, and they find somebody new. Because I frequent Aiden English and Simon Gotch's Twitter, and they actually teamed up with one NXT women's wrestler. I forget what her name is, but she actually joined them for a few live events. So maybe they're testing the waters for something coming up. I don't know, but I'm still very interested in this story, and this is a solid matchup.
I think I heard the same story, but I don't remember who it was either.
Yeah, I can't remember her name. I don't know. If you want to carry us into the next segment, I could look it up real quick.
Okay, up next we had an amazing segment. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa in William Regal's office. I never thought I'd see the day that Tommaso Ciampa would be back in a WWE ring. Even if it's not main roster WWE, it's NXT. It's just amazing to me, because what a lot of people don't realize, Tommaso Ciampa was already in the developmental system in the mid-2000s, and basically he was extremely green, because the way that he came up through the indies was very different from everyone else, because he didn't really go through the indies at the end of the day. He basically went to a wrestling school that was a feeder to the WWE's developmental system. So they basically didn't teach him how to work, how to draw money, how to, work in front of a crowd. They basically just taught him what he needed to do to get signed to a WWE developmental deal. And he did that, and he did get signed eventually after like 3 or 4 tryouts, I think it was. And so he was in WWE's developmental system. I think it was OVW, or it might have been Deep South. I don't remember. But he didn't have any clue what he was doing. And like they brought in Colt Cabana, and Colt Cabana, like Ciampa even comes right out and says Colt Cabana carried me to the point that I didn't even know what I was doing. It was like Colt Cabana was wrestling himself out there, and he really just kind of floundered while he was in the developmental system because he didn't know what he was doing, and he was a slower learner, I guess. And they called it, he was Tommy Penmanship at the time. And he actually got to play a lawyer on an episode of Raw or SmackDown, I don't remember, but they didn't really know what to do with him. So they kind of told him, we don't really have anything for you. They released him and told him to find himself. And next thing you know, before you know it, obviously he worked the Indies, so I shouldn't say before you know it, but he worked the Indies, he ends up in ROH, he gets this whole thing where he turns into the Sicilian psychopath, and, everything's kind of just, downhill from there. In a good way. Downhill meaning like easy, not uphill as in like a struggle. John.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I love that story. It's a great story. I loved how William Regal sold both Gargano and Ciampa here, even though he mispronounced Ciampa's name. Really Ciampa. We really put them over as just two excellent competitors. And I think that's just what makes this segment really work, because Tyler Breeze, of course, he's brash, he's arrogant, he thinks he's better than everybody, and he cuts them off, and then he gets the short end of the stick because he's like, I demanded that you find me the perfect opponent for TakeOver Brooklyn, and you came through in the clutch. And I love Regal because it's like, oh yes, I did. So like the whole play between the really mannerly and sophisticated Regal and then just Breeze. Yeah. His name is also a verb. And it's like, now I expect you to do the same thing for the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic because I just don't want to win it. I need to win it. And Regal's like, well, you interrupted me, and I'll get back to you on that, but, let me think. It's got to be perfect, perfect for you. And Breeze is like, of course. And then it's just Bull Dempsey. And then Breeze is like, are you kidding me? And then Regal's pretty much just like, deal with it. Now let me go 10 back to these guys. Yeah.
And I love it, too, because he says, he gives them their credit, and he's like, these are the two hottest free agents in the wrestling world right now. And you just interrupted me, and then he says that Breeze's match was going to be against them.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a debut, that's going to be excellent because Tyler
Breeze...
Dude,
I'm so freaking happy that Gargano and Ciampa are actually a part of NXT, and it wasn't just them screwing with us.
I know, right? Especially, and what a way to make a splash, being in one of the early rounds of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, no less. That's quite a way.
Dude, I hope they go far. I hope that they make it to at least the semifinals, if not win the whole thing. I would love. How is there really a better way to debut a team?
Certainly not.
Than to have them win, and that's the thing. We don't know if it's like for number one contendership or what. But if they win the whole thing, that'd be an amazing way to establish them.
I'd love to see them versus the Vaudevillains. Are you kidding me?
And especially if the finals, it comes down to them and then Joe and Balor, and they win.
I have my own thoughts about the finals. I don't know if you want to talk about them here or if you want to.
We have to.
Well, I'll get to them later. But okay. I know I'm being a real skank.
If you want the truth, I think Jordan and Gable are being set up to win the whole thing. But...
Well, since you said it, I'm going to tell you this. I was thinking the same thing after tonight. I'm thinking it's going to be Jordan and Gable and Balor and Joe in the finals. Yep. And then we're going to have Jordan.
Dude, they already beat the team with Neville on it. Good God.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Jordan and Gable. This is really to establish them as the biggest possible threat to the Vaudevillains, which my heart is going to be so torn. But speaking of that, first of all, I can't pronounce her actual name, and I don't want to try to be disrespectful, but her Twitter handle is Isn't She Lovely? She goes by Jasmine on her Twitter, the Persian Princess. So I don't know if she's going to be appearing with the Vaudevillains soon. But yeah, they seem to really be a cohesive unit at live events. I saw one clip of them doing like a squat based maneuver, and they did it as a trio. It was really cool looking. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, as far as this segment goes, personally, I think...
What is the Twitter handle? Like up in the URL bar, twitter.com/what?
It's Isn't She Lovely _4. So, yeah.
Okay.
But I think Bull and Breeze are going to win next week. I think
honestly, dude, I think Jasmine is just her character name in WWE, in NXT.
Okay. So, yeah, Jasmine's her name. And, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing, like, if they want to do anything there. But, yeah, I think Breeze and Bull are going to go over. But I do think Gargano and Ciampa are going to look, extremely confident in there, extremely game in there. But I think the comedy value of Breeze and Bull in NXT's eyes is going to be too good to pass up so early. So I could see them advancing. But I would love it if Gargano and Ciampa won. I'd freak out. So here's to hoping next week. Yeah.
And yeah, I just looked it up, and she goes by Jasmine in NXT.
All right, that's good. That's good.
And her trainer, it says here, she was actually trained by Taylor Wilde.
Wow.
Are you familiar with Taylor Wilde? I know
I
she was in TNA for a while.
Yeah, I am familiar with Taylor Wilde, former Knockouts champion. So that's pretty
but this Jasmine chick, 20 years old.
Wow. God, all these people in their 20s, man. I'm just sitting here like my life right now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. Well, let's move on from the whole Gargano Ciampa thing. Match number 3, Apollo Crews in basically just an exhibition match versus Martin Stone. And Stone does get some offense here, don't get me wrong, but this was really just the Apollo Crews show. He ends up winning with, I don't know if this is the official name for it, but back on the indies, he called it the Ooh-Ha combination, so I'm going to call this the Crews combination. He hits the jumping clothesline, the gorilla press drop, and the standing moonsault for the win.
You pretty much did the review of the match, brother, because I really can't add anything to it. The Full Sail crowd seemed receptive of Crews.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see more from him. Obviously more competent opponents, just a little bit more mic time. I know he's not going to be a guy that talks you into the building,
dude.
But
I'm going to go ahead and say it. My current dream match for Apollo Crews is Kevin Owens.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see those two go at it. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, because, I feel like they've had to have worked each other before just because they both worked in PWG around the same time. And then, he's just such a good babyface. I feel like he's the new Sami Zayn in that, even though, yeah, sure, he's this big scary guy, so you can't call him an underdog. He's just so darn likable.
And here's my thing, personally. If everything else clicks for him, which is yet to be determined, I think he may even be able to go farther than Sami Zayn because he has
because of the freaking body, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love Sami.
Hey man, Sami Zayn has a 6-pack.
He does.
Now, granted, he shaves that into his stomach hair, but you don't have to know that.
But Apollo Crews, I think, has all the tools to really be something here. I can't wait for his first formal program in NXT. I'm curious who that's going to be with. But he rolls on with another victory here, and nothing more I can say than that.
Absolutely. Apollo Crews, man, that just so likable. I feel like they should give him a Mr. Rogers gimmick, man.
This week on Cruz's Community. And then he just smiles and is like, I'm so happy to be here. All right.
That's what it is, though. That's his gimmick, is that he's just happy to be here.
That's great.
Oh, man. So up next, speaking of amazingness, we get Jason Jordan and Chad Gable interview. What do they say about history, John? Never mind, I know it. Dude, that killed me. He was like, "Hey JJ, what do they say about history?" And JJ just kind of looks at him, just and he's thinking about it, and he's getting ready to say it, and then Chad Gable's just like, "Never mind, I know it." They say it. I died right there, man. That is my sense of humor. That freaking awkward, setting up jokes only to squash them before they even get their freaking wheels under them, man. I love that so much, and Chad Gable gets it.
I was so happy when you said that you got it now, because very early on in one episode of NXT TWitWoW, I just saw the parallel between Chad Gable and Wonder Bread Kurt Angle when he first came in.
Yep.
And I love it, and that wasn't a bad thing, because I feel look at how far Kurt Angle went.
Yeah.
And I think the worst thing though, and again, I love Kurt Angle, as part of my favorite feud of all time, nothing but respect. But if I had to make one critique of Kurt Angle, I hate that he became so serious. And I'm kind of hoping Gable never really does, because I think Gable walks that line between, I can make you laugh like Santino, but I can put a hurting on you like a Daniel Bryan type.
Right.
Just that real technical acumen. And when you walk that line, it's money, baby. It's money. And Chad Gable, like I said, I think he's one of my favorite NXT prospects to come along in a long time. Just watching his progress has been a real delight for me. And, to your point, Ashton, he does say history is written by winners. And I think it was Jason Jordan saying, well, tonight we're going to make history. Everybody's all talking about Neville and Crow's so excited. but, we're going to put him down. Neville, I think they did something with his play that, oh, that's right. Gable's like, you're going to fly too close to the sun, going back to that mythos of Icarus. I like that reference. And we're going to make you crash and fail spectacularly. And Crowe, we're going to make sure nobody even remembers you. Jason Jordan's like, who? Gable's like, exactly. And then Gable's like, because we're ready, willing, and say it.
He just stares at Jason and just say my name.
Say my name. And then Jordan's like,
and Gable.
And Chad Gable. You would have thought somebody gave him like a Corvette for Christmas or something. It's like,
you did it, dude. You did it.
And then I love. See, and here's the thing too, because I've never been. I always saw a little something in Jason Jordan, but I realized maybe as a solo act he really doesn't have much to offer, as opposed to, can't believe I'm saying this, the perfect 10 Ty Dillinger.
Yes.
But, don't rub it in right now.
Oh, I'm not rubbing it in. I'm just loving it.
But
just taking it all in, brother.
I think Jordan, this tag team really does work because he's the perfect foil for a guy like Gable. Because when Gable's getting all excited, he's like, man, I'll deny it. And then Gable's like, but it's on TV, man. I love the interplay between these two guys. Jordan may never be a really hot singles act, but with Chad Gable, who, by the way, I do think Chad Gable can be a really hot singles act. But with Chad
Jordan, he's just so uncharismatic.
Well, I mean, that's just it, though. But I think when you have the charisma of Chad Gable to kind
of work off of. That's what it is, though, dude. Just Jason Jordan has no sense of humor whatsoever. And that's exactly what Chad Gable needs for his sense of humor to come out the most.
Exactly, which is why this team freaking works.
Yeah.
Love this.
Completely, yeah, it's so good.
I'm telling you, they're my favorite team right behind the Vaudevillains. Like, the Vaudevillains are my guys.
I like them more than I like the Vaudevillains, dude.
I can understand that, though. That makes perfect sense to me. I've been a fan of the Vaudevillains for a long time, and I'll tell you something. If these two teams are going to feud in the future, I really have no dog in the fight, because I'll be happy whoever emerges with those titles. Freaking love these guys, man.
I mean, as far as this tournament itself goes, I'm going to say Chad Gable and Jason Jordan are probably my second favorite team, just because I want Gargano and Ciampa to win.
Right, yeah.
Because I would freak out if they would win, but Jordan and Gable are probably going to win the whole thing, and I don't have a problem with that.
Certainly not.
All right, so up next we had a Finn Balor interview. Very, very sort of generic. He's defending the title a few times in Texas, and he just kind of, talked about how he's up for the challenge, and then they brought up that he's going to be teaming up with Samoa Joe in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and he's looking forward to that. And Joe shows up, and he just kind of declares that he wants to win it, and asks Finn if he's ready, and they shake hands, and Finn's ready, so let's go.
Yeah, I mean, nothing more you can really say than that. Two very high-ranking baby faces, just seeing that they're on the same page. Of course, the NXT Championship does kind of stand between them. I'm wondering if that's going to be an object of tension. But yeah, on paper, it looks like a powerhouse duo, but historically, they never exactly pan out that way, do they? So we'll have to keep a close eye on Balor and Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so up next, we had our fourth match of the night. And by the way, Balor and Joe, I said it last week. I feel like they need to have like a mishmash team to make it to the finals, and I think that's going to be it. I think that they're going to be the guys that make it to the finals that put over whatever team ends up winning.
Yeah.
So, now up next, match number 4, Eva Marie versus Billie Kay. I hate the name Billie Kay so much, but I still freaking love the performer, so I'm going to cheer for her anyway. And this, you know what, dude? I'm going to come right out and say it. This was Eva Marie's best match yet.
Yeah, I would agree. They did a fine editing job with that pinning botch.
Yes, they did. Oh my God, dude. The crowd went they went full on nuclear, because from what I understand, there was actually a spot where Billie Kay pins Eva Marie and the referee hits 1, 2, and then he's going to hit 3. Eva Marie literally just forgot to kick out, and the referee just pauses with his hand in the air, and then right as he's finishing, Eva Marie finally kicks out. So yeah. That's why the crowd went nuclear, because at the actual taping, Eva Marie straight up forgot to kick out, and the referee just paused at 2.5.
Poor Billie Kay, man.
I know, it's a conspiracy, man.
At least Emma got her win. That's the only thing that really matters.
Of course it is.
I'm the worst.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about her promo then too.
Yeah, it was pretty basic, but did that happen already, or is that coming up?
It probably happened already, but let's finish talking about this match, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, not really much to say here. It's about the rise of all red everything, which, the only good thing about it is Corey Graves. I'm
Her
not gonna
acting is getting
lie.
better.
Beg pardon?
Her acting is getting better.
I would agree with that, but
I noticed
man,
that when she was selling and when she had Billie Kay in a move, when she was doing stuff, it didn't look like she just had like this blank, expressionless face on, where it was just like she was going through the motions because she learned how to do moves rather than learning how to work. It actually seemed like she was trying to win, and that's a huge step for her.
yeah. I'm hoping, man, she can work those kinks out because forgetting to kick out and things like
Yeah.
that, it's uncomfortable. I'm not going to come down too hard on Eva because I agree with you. This was her best match, but she's working with a phenomenal worker in Billie Kay, as we've seen. She got robbed of this win here, obviously. I loved her comeback. And let me tell you something, too. This matchup gives me hope because one thing, again, and we've talked about this before, that we know about NXT, today's jobber could be tomorrow's main eventer.
Exactly.
And Billie Kay's and that's not even to call Billie Kay a jobber, but you get my point.
Right.
Billie Kay's comeback was a lot of fun to watch. It was crisp. It was beautiful. The crowd was getting into it. There is a performer there. I mean, and you've known that, for the longest time now, so I know I'm not saying anything new to you. But for anybody else that may be a fan of these girls, don't give up on them because I don't think NXT has either. This is Eva's moment now. We'll get through it. We'll swallow the medicine. I may have to rush to the bathroom and vomit it back up, but that remains to be determined. But then hopefully it'll be Billie Kay's turn and then Peyton Royce's turn, and that whole era will come to the forefront because her comeback was great. I loved it, and Eva does get the win though with the sliced bread, and she's gunning for Bayley, and I don't know what
number two.
Sliced bread number 2, yes, and in more ways than one, but I don't know.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize what you said until, yeah, okay.
But I don't know what kind of story she'll kind of tell with Bayley if they're going to go that route, which wouldn't surprise me because I can tell you Bayley's title reign is going to be predicated on being the underdog and being that woman that overcomes these odds. Yep. I can already see Nia Jax in that picture. Emma even before Nia Jax.
Honestly, dude, I think Nia Jax might be our next Divas champion.
I wouldn't. You know what? We'll again, that'll be a case-by-case basis, but
that might even be before WrestleMania too, because I think that they're gonna really push her hard. I mean, whether you want to look at the size or the fact that she is The Rock's frickin' cousin, we already know what that led to for Roman Reigns. So I think that there's a definite chance that she's gonna get a major push.
And you know what? It may be all the better for Bayley because you and I were having a conversation about her. She is so popular among young girls in NXT. Her merch is selling like hotcakes right now, and the reaction she gets consistently in arenas is just blows the roof off.
Yeah, I mean, we both saw now. You brought it up to me today. I saw it a few days ago. There was an email that got sent out by somebody in WWE up in one of the higher ups to Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer, basically saying that if Bayley would start doing Make-A-Wishes, she would destroy John Cena's numbers.
And see, here's the thing, Ashton, because I say all this not because I'm like, oh, if they take the belt off of her, they can get her up to the main roster, because that might be true.
Right.
But a character like Bayley is never championed for very long.
Yeah.
I feel like, they are meant more for
she's like that
runs.
Sami Zayn character, man.
Yeah, Sami Zayn lost the title in his first defense, guys.
Yep.
He really, or it was either his first or his second defense. Point is, it didn't last long.
Yeah.
And Bayley is not long for that NXT Women's Championship, which may be all the better for her because Bayley, the person, just wants to be with her friends, and damn it, she deserves it. She wants to be around them all the time. So let's just put a smile back on Bayley's face because I'm supposed to be evil, and it's doing things to me, and I don't like it. Just like I didn't really like this match because Eva went over and Billie Kay's clearly superior. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Well, I won't disagree with that last part.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my god, I love that you have a complex about whether you can be a heel or not because of Bayley.
Hey, quiet! This is not about me!
Sure, now it's not about you. All the time, it's make this about me, but now it's not.
Are we really doing this right now?
No, we're not. Let's talk about Emma's promo.
There you go.
That'll make it about you.
Well, it's not about me. It's about my estranged wife, okay? She's just happy that she was able to get out of a very hostile working environment with the victory. And she says, all this talk about the Divas Revolution, people forget that it started NXT Arrival with Paige and myself. It's time I reminded everybody that there is no revolution without Emma. And then she walks off. So I'm hoping that she's Bayley's first challenger, and then honestly, I wouldn't mind at all if we leapfrog from Emma to Nia Jax, depending on Nia Jax's progression. I'm hoping she's good. Please don't crap the bed.
I completely agree with you, and I agree with that too, because man, she's probably not great, but as long as she can do the things that we already described, she'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm just don't sell punches, be dominant. That's it. Go home. You know, that's all I'm asking you to do.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, great stuff from Emma here. I'm really excited about her picking up the feud with Bayley, but this time with NXT Women's Championship implications. They could really have a great match for Full Sail, and then that'll make Izzy feel happy before she sees her hero get destroyed by Nia Jax. So everybody wins.
Dude, you don't even understand. I completely agree. I was going to say the exact same thing. Emma, first opponent, Nia Jax, winner.
There you go.
I wouldn't mind if Emma took the title, though.
Oh, well, you know, I wouldn't have any qualms about it. I'd be like, yeah! Yeah!
Dude, I can't wait for those live reactions.
It's gonna be amazing.
You're gonna be so devastated.
every time. Every time. It's like, with Mundo, I know, like, I'm just like, man, Ashton, he's not gonna win. 10 minutes in the match. Oh my god! End of the world! Yes, yes! Same thing with Emma. Ashton, she's not gonna win. Oh my god, dilemma! Oh my god, it's gonna happen! And then Bayley wins, and I'm like, damn it.
But Johnny Mundo did beat Alberto El Patron at Ultima Lucha.
That's right, and don't you or any of your magnificent mothers people forget it. Sorry, I have very deeply rooted emotional issues, but again, this isn't about me. Emma for #1 contender, this is going to be amazing.
And then we get another promo, Enzo, Cass, Mojo, and Ryder's post-Brooklyn celebration, and I've got 3 words for you, John.
Yeah.
Everyone hates Mojo.
That's right. Nobody wants to hang out with him.
It's the best.
As if I couldn't love these guys anymore, except for Zack Ryder. You stay the hell away from me. But
I mean, I feel like Zack Ryder is kind of maybe a little bit redeeming himself with this.
He should have stayed in that wheelchair.
But
oh
my god!
Now that I completely no-sold that defense, great for Enzo and Cass. I love Enzo too because Enzo is normally like if it's just him and Cass, so wound up. But he realizes he's in the same room as Mojo, and he's like, "I'm not even gonna try. I just want to get through this."
Mojo brings out the worst in everyone.
I just want to go home, taste my mother's sauce, do all that good stuff. You know, she made good pasta, and I just want to go to sleep. And, you know, that's pretty much what they do. Mojo is annoying as hell. I wish they'd give him his walking papers, but they won't because they hate me. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about walking papers, but he was just losing his mind here. He was, you know, freaking out, talking about how he wants to go party, even though they just got done with a match. You freak. And
it's like, I want to go where the chicks are at, and here I'm thinking, wow, I guess when your eyes build up an immunity to pepper spray, it really changes your disposition about things. So, you know, that's just wonderful, Mojo. That's just great.
So that's why he's so into chicks. He's freaking out talking about how he wants to go with the chicks because he's got all this built up, you know, resistance to pepper spray. It doesn't matter what they do to him. He's winning all the time.
Yeah, resistance to pepper spray and rejection. Ugh, he disgusts me. Anyway, what happened after this?
With rejection comes shame, and Mojo Wally has none.
That's certainly true.
After this, though, was the main event. Crowe and Neville versus Jordan and Gable. I already said it, so the cat's out of the bag. Jordan and Gable win this by pinning Crowe. Fun match. Really fun match. I enjoyed this. Man, Chad Gable's too good.
I know, right?
Like, he picks the foot, and then he drops the guy down like he's going to do a crossface, but then he grabs him with his leg around the arm, and he puts him into a crucifix pin, and it's just so good.
The fluidity, and I said this in his, like, debut tag match with Jordan. The fluidity of how he goes from hold to hold is unbelievable. He's got the personality. I'm telling you, dude.
John, do you remember the one word that I used to describe the debut match, the first ever time that we got to see Gable and Jordan?
I'm trying to remember, but I would eat up too much time. What was it?
Transitions.
Yes. And you definitely saw that here. I'm telling you, I don't know, because how tall was Gable? Do you feel like he's a good height and everything?
Dude, there's no way he's more than like 5'10".
Yeah. So I don't know.
If I had to guess, I'd say 5'8", but I'm going to look it up now.
I don't know how
Yeah,
far
he's
he can go.
5'8", 5'8", 185. He's a little guy. He's basically Daniel Bryan size.
I'll tell you this though, Ashton. If he was to come out to the main roster, and like I don't mean this to be insulting him because I love Chad Gable to death already, but I feel like he could be one hell of a charismatic mechanic. I feel like if he were to be Intercontinental Champion, like he'd give off that Mr. Perfect vibe, all that charisma, all that arrogance, and just having great bouts for the mid card title. So if that's where they'd want to go with him, I wouldn't have any complaints at all. So I just want to see him have a bright future. It certainly seemed that way tonight because, again, they did get the win after pinning Crowe. Of course, they protect Neville. They make sure he just gets kicked to the outside. Jordan, too, I don't want to, give him the shaft. So he had some great power moments as well. Really suplexed Crowe out of his boots quite a few times in this matchup. In fact, that was kind of the finishing sequence because Crowe tried going for something, but Jordan caught him and like an exploder belly to belly, then did a hard shoulder thrust in the corner, tagged in Gable, and they did their double team finisher.
Yep.
So Jordan and Gable advance. I'm really thinking these guys are going to win. I'm actually pulling for them to win. I think that'd be great for them. And then let's just get right into that program with the vaudevillains and let's get this show on the road. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is great. This match was really fun. Neville doesn't look any worse for wear. Crowe really doesn't look much worse for wear either because it took a lot of offense to put him down for the 3 count, that double team. I just think that this is the kind of match that NXT just really separates themselves with because this from beginning to end, this was one of those matches where if you weren't watching it, you were missing out.
Absolutely, and I had to smile to myself just thinking, Gable really is right where he belongs, in the main event with Jason Jordan. I love that these guys got to close this show. It was a fun outing, and if the finals are really going to be them versus Joe and Balor, good God. That match, that's going to be the match that really puts them on the map, guaranteed. If they're not there already in a lot of people's eyes, I'm ready, willing, and Gable to see them win this whole thing. So there you go.
Yeah, that was completely necessary.
I'm glad you agree. But anything else you have to say about this?
No, sir.
All right, let's move on. High spots, low shots. I'm going to make mine real simple. My low shot's the Ascension. Because unlike Neville and Crowe, they are an established tag team. They were the longest reigning NXT tag team champions. And this makeshift team of Corbin and Rhyno was able to get the better of them. So a rough time for the Ya Nation, so to speak. But they'll be back. Hopefully.
You think so?
Hopefully. I'd like to see that. All right,
All
so
right.
Yeah.
My low shot, I think I'm going to have to go with Crowe.
Yeah. He called his shot, thought he was going to win this whole thing with Neville. Like, oh, I got one of the greatest NXT champions ever. I can't possibly lose. Well, you ate the pin.
Yeah.
So, way to go there. It's still frustrating to me that, a gimmick that I see so much potential in with him, just this whole hacker vibe and everything is just really not
They aren't even really using that gimmick anymore either.
I know, yeah. It's just been totally thrown to the wayside, which is a shame because I still see so much promise in it because we're not going to move away from the technological age. We're only going to progress further and further into it. So I think it's a gimmick that keeps on giving. But they just didn't want to utilize it, and you see where Crowe is now. So he ate the pin, and I completely agree with your low shot. That said, my high spot, anybody should see this coming from a mile away, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. Yeah. Love these guys, especially Chad Gable. He's got the charisma. He's got the ability. Keep shilling the towel, and they pick up the win here in the first round matchup. I see them winning the whole thing. Let's see if they can get it done.
Definitely. I think I'm going to make my high spot Alexa Bliss because she had a really, really good performance here. She won against Blue Pants. She kind of got hers, she got the sort of karma on Blue Pants because karma got her and now she got Blue Pants. And so I think that, Alexa Bliss, and not only that, but this really was her kind of coming out of her shell as just an actor because of some of like the facial expressions and that kind of stuff as an in-ring competitor, because we've seen her do that kind of stuff in interviews and stuff. It's just good to see that she can put it all together in the ring as well.
Yeah, and I think it does great things for her trio as well, with Blake and Murphy, because, this is why she takes charge, because when she's in there, she gets the job done.
Yep.
So I think it definitely gives her that air of legitimacy as well. I completely agree with her as your high spot. I think that's an excellent choice. So with that said, do you have any closing remarks about tonight's episode of NXT?
No, sir.
All right then, guys. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Who is your pick to win the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic right now with the teams that we're aware of? Maybe more teams will reveal themselves later and you can change your pick. But for the moment, who do you think is going to win this thing? What do you think about Billie Kay? What do you think about Nia Jax? Do you agree with our booking of Nia Jax? Do you have any contentions about that? Be sure to take the conversation over to Pleetoff, an amazing pro wrestling group on Facebook. Some really great friends there, very passionate NXT fans. But, you know, I get it if you don't want to do that. Ashton has created a TWitWoW subreddit where you can just talk to him or myself about all things pro wrestling and about all things TWitWoW. You can find all of our videos there. And, yeah, we will see you again, I guess, for the next episode of Lucha Underground Rewatch. If not before that, though, we may be able to do an ROH review this Saturday. You know, we never really know with them, so be on the lookout Saturday. But if not, Lucha Underground Rewatch, Episode 5. And until then, tune in and peace out.